All right, so I have spent the last 20 months on this bike. Yeah, and honestly, I really couldn't have asked for something more dependable. So, in this video, I am going to cover everything that you need to know about the Surly Bridge Club. All right, let's get into it. All right, now I will admit, Surly sent me this bike for review a long time ago, like back when this new colorway was first launched. But, you know, sometimes a bike just sticks. It becomes your daily driver, the one that, well, you grab for darn near every task out there. And it's hard to let go, right? And that's exactly what happened here. And while I've tested, man, a handful of bikes since I've received this one, I might like this one the most because, well, it's simple. It offers that proper one bike that does most things well. Most things. So the Bridge Club first launched back in 2018. I was actually working at Angry Catfish in Minneapolis at the time, and I remember throwing a leg over one for the first time, and well, I didn't really think much of it. It was another Surly bike, and maybe a little bit of a budget-oriented bike that probably kind of scared me off at first, but more on this soon. So like many bikes, it's built with bike packing and dirt road touring in mind. Surly kind of officially calls it or characterizes it as a light bike packing double track commuting rig. But really, it's just a bike that does what you expect a bike to do. It's not fancy and, well, it's not supposed to be. So what does the Bridge Club stand for? Well, that's open to interpretation, but it might be a nod to the casual bridge hangs in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, or maybe a tribute to your weekly game of bridge with a crew of spry 70-year-olds at 8 a.m., strong coffee in hand, of course. Either way, the name suggests something reliable, a little old school, and probably filled with a healthy dose of laughs, just like the bike. All right, so I feel like this is a good moment in the video to let you all know that this one is supported in part by Coros, the brand behind the Coros Dura Solar GPS bike computer. So the Dura is a head unit that you might have seen in some of our videos, and for good reason. It offers an impressive 120 hours of battery life on one charge. In fact, I only had to charge mine once over a 6-month period. And if that wasn't enough, well, it features highly efficient solar panels on top, which make a noticeable difference in sunny conditions. With simple controls and intuitive navigation, it's perfect for bike packing or day rides of any length. So to learn a little bit more about this award-winning head unit, you can click on the card in the top right corner here, or also follow the link in the description below. All right, so the Bridge Club is built around Surly's 4130 chromoly notch tubing, which is double butted in the front or the main triangle here, with straight gauge tubing on the rear triangle. It is ED coated for corrosion resistance and comes in what they are calling whipped butter colorway right here, which, I mean, to me, it's just a perfect neutral tone. I really like it, actually. There is also Trevor's Closet Black version colorway available as well. So the bike comes with Surly's matching cocktail fork, which is also made with a double butted chromoly on the fork blades there. So the bike is designed around 27.5 wheels and comes stock with 2.4-inch tires, but it does have clearance for up to 27.5 by 2.8 and also has compatibility with 26 by 3 inches or 700 by 47 millimeter tires. So the frame uses Surly's Not Boost 138 millimeter QR rear spacing, which conveniently splits the difference between 135 millimeter and 141 millimeter. That means that the frame, basically the rear end, flexes ever so slightly to work with both 10 by 135 millimeter and 10 by 141 millimeter quick release hubs. Handy for kind of swapping parts or using older wheels. So the fork is also quick release with a 10 by 100 millimeter spacing up there. Both the frame and fork use vertical dropouts, which are not adjustable, but personally, I think this is the simplest quick release dropout design out there. There's certainly less room for error. That said, you still kind of need to pay a little attention during the wheel installation to avoid rotor rub when tightening the skewer down. So it also comes with a 73 millimeter threaded bottom bracket, a 27.2 millimeter seat post, and unfortunately no dropper post routing. Yeah, it's sad, but it's okay. The frame uses post-mount brake standards and is compatible with 1x, 2x, and 3x drivetrains. And of course, it has all the mounts that you could ever want, but more on that soon. So the Bridge Club comes in a full size range from extra small to extra large. I tested the medium, which fits me pretty well. I'm 176.5 centimeters or 5'9.5". And it is it's a win for our household because my partner, who is 167.6 centimeters or 5'6", uses it as a commuter as well. So we've marked our seat post height on the seat post itself, keep a 5mm Allen key around, and we can quickly adjust the saddle height depending on who's riding. Neither of us actually had any issues with standover clearance. It turns out to be a pretty ideal kind of shared setup for our family, especially if we want to kind of keep the burly trailer on the bike, installed on the bike for daycare pickups. For commuting, the fit is, spot on for both of us. On single track, or I'd say rougher terrain, I did notice the 1073mm wheelbase felt maybe a bit short. I found myself kind of occasionally wishing for a bit more length. But again, this is a build to do a little bit of everything and not just one specific thing, and I can't complain too much with the overall length. Especially paired with the 27.5-inch wheels, it accelerates really quickly, which is a huge plus for city riding and stop-and-go situations. One thing I absolutely love is the low stack on the bike. Even with the 40mm stack spacers under the stem, the front end sits really nice and low thanks to that 420mm axle to crown and, the smaller wheels. It certainly gives the bike a very grounded, confident feeling without being uncomfortable, let's say. So the 595mm effective top tube and the 419mm reach strikes a very nice balance. It's aggressive enough to kind of give you space to be ready for obstacles, but still kind of relaxed and comfortable. So paired with the stock handlebars and stem, the position just works. All right, just to round out some numbers here, it's got a 71-degree head tube angle, 73-degree seat tube angle, and 435mm chainstays across all sizes. So overall, I'm really glad I actually went with the medium. The large would have added a bit of length, obviously, but for our use, kind of commuting, casual riding, the medium certainly feels like the right call. That said, sizing is certainly worth kind of considering based on your intended use, so keep that in mind. I've used the Bridge Club for well over a year now, and I can safely say that it is the most used bike in the Belchenko family. The value and versatility are truly something hard to beat. It accepts an Old Man Mountain pizza rack and hauls pizza to Sunday night music here in Gunnison with the family. It tows a burly trailer with 2 kids weighing over 60 pounds combined nearly every day. It gets us to and from the local music venue in the summers to kind of stomp our feet to bluegrass or other music. It enjoys grocery runs, quick spins on gravel roads, rides to our local single track network, and, of course, it is ready to bike pack, whether that's across the country or just a quick, simple sub 24-hour overnighter. So the thing I keep coming back to with the Bridge Club is its adaptability. I've never actually had a bike that fits into so many kind of use cases this well. Sure, a drop bar bike or a drop bar mountain bike can do most of those things, and so could a full suspension or a hardtail. But the Bridge Club handles all of it with ease. It's not optimized for speed or chunky terrain, but it holds its own. It's not purpose-built to kind of haul massive loads, but it carries gear quite well. It's not optimized for pavement either, but it actually is quite efficient. In fact, most of my days on this bike have been on pavement, commuting around town and riding to and from daycare. But the best part is that it doesn't actually discriminate against dirt. I expected it to be kind of harsh on rough terrain, but I found maybe the geometry was more limiting than the frame quality itself. The ride is actually notably comfortable when loaded. It's not the most supple steel frame that I've ever ridden, but it's more forgiving than, I'd say, some of the aluminum bikes that I've pedaled before. Another standout is how nimble this bike feels. Whether I'm kind of weaving through town or picking my way through single track, the bike has a very quick and responsive demeanor. Sure, at higher speeds on rough terrain, I found myself kind of wishing for a bit more stability. And while I definitely needed to remind myself on the occasion that I was on a rigid bike when hitting sections of trail that I'd normally kind of fly through. But that is a small trade-off for a bike that handles such a wide spectrum of riding and does it all at a very good value. And to quickly compare it to the Grappler, which we also have in the garage, the Bridge Club certainly offers a more kind of playful characteristic, while the Grappler delivers a more grounded and upright feel. Really, they are two completely different bikes. I love both of them, however. The frame and fork come with something like 29 mounts total, allowing for fenders, racks, cargo storage, bottles, and whatever you can think of. The fork alone is incredibly versatile with 4 mounts on each fork leg, plus a lower rack or fender mount and a crown fender mount. And then you even have mounts on the fork blade bend here. On the frame, you get 3-pack mounts on each side of the down tube, underneath and on top. Standard mounts for bottles on the seat tube. And then you have fender mounts and 2 sets of mounts near the rear dropouts. Perfect for running racks and fenders at the same time, or kind of having a rack help you dial in the clearance depending on the rack size and setup. There's also braze-ons near the top of the seat stay to round it all out. So all told, I've fit a few different racks on this bike, and all of those mounting points certainly make packing the bike incredibly easy. And of course, with 27 5-inch wheels, you have a lot more clearance with racks. It's so easy. So the frame space here, yep, it isn't massive, but it's not cramped either, leaving plenty of room to carry your gear for trips of any length, whether you want to throw in a frame bag or just carry bottles and maybe a half frame bag or a wedge bag here. And when it's all loaded up, paired with the 2.4-inch tires, the whole setup feels just right. It feels very balanced, maybe a little unimpressive actually, in the best way possible. It gives you kind of that confidence that you want on a bike packing rig without, say, an overly long or cumbersome wheelbase or excessive wheel flop that many bikes I've tested recently kind of lean into. People say Surly bikes are overbuilt. Sure, maybe, and that's not a bad thing, but when you weigh this thing down, when you put weight on it, it absolutely kind of livens up the tube set. It's more comfortable, it's a little bit more compliant. It's perfect for bike packing. All right, so getting into the build here. So one of the ways Surly certainly kept the price of the Bridge Club rather low is, well, through the component spec here. So while nothing on this build is, I'd say, bad, there are a few spots where upgrades would certainly be beneficial. So starting with the wheels here. So the bike does come with WTB rims laced to Novatec hubs. So they are tubeless ready rims, but the stock tires are WTB wire bead 2.4-inch Trail Boss tires, which I swapped out almost immediately. Not everyone needs tubeless setups, but for commuting on roads full of screws and nails and other sharp stuff and just riding on trail, it's just more reliable in my mind. I do wish Surly had spec'd tubeless ready folding tires out of the box, but I put on these Maxxis ones and I was happy. The standout of this build, in my opinion, is the Shimano Q's flat bar drivetrain. So it comes with an 1150 11-speed cassette, a 32-tooth chainring, and 175mm cranks. So the range overall covers pretty much everything I'd need on a bike like this, though I did find myself kind of spun out on kind of flat or downhill sections of gravel road rides. So I also haven't, and I should probably just be quiet because I don't want to be too loud with this thing, but I haven't had any issues with the Shadow Plus derailleur so far, though I know I've run into a few problems with other derailleurs on other bikes. Still, this setup shifts great, it's clean, consistent, and shifts under load really well, which, to be fair, I didn't really do too much on this rig. Once it's dialed in, it stays dialed. The shifter feels really good, it's ergonomic, crisp. Yeah, overall, I'm a big fan of this Q's setup so far. All right, so Surly also went with some Tektro 2-piston hydraulic brakes for the Bridge Club, and they've been surprisingly solid. Way less fiddly than the BB7s that I have on my Grappler. That said, they feel maybe underpowered at higher speeds than some brakes I've used. Nothing dangerous, but I guess not exactly inspiring. I guess maybe if I wanted a little bit more power, I could certainly add larger rotors, The bike is capable for up to 203 millimeter rotors, but maybe just an 180 millimeter rotor up front would do the trick. So one simple tweak that helped me a lot, and I'd suggest everyone else doing if they get this bike, is, well, to adjust the lever reach closer to the bar. It made a huge difference in feel, kind of reducing finger fatigue on long descents, and just feels great because the lever it's like a mile away from the bar when you get it out of the box. All right, so as for the cockpit, the medium comes with 740 millimeter salsa bend bars and a 90 millimeter stem. And honestly, I can't remember the last time I ran a 90 millimeter stem, but with the shorter reach of the frame, it actually kind of works. It's somewhat of an old school overall fit, and I'm not mad about that. I would say I could run a little bit of a wider overall bar, but the bars were surprisingly comfortable. Not as much back sweep as, say, a Jones H-bar or a Surly Moloko bar, which I've found are a little bit too much sweep for long days in the saddle. All right, so lastly, the bike comes with a rigid seat post, which is not my favorite, but if you wanted to run a dropper, well, you would probably need to use an external dropper post, or you could get creative with the drill as there's no internal routing, which is a bummer because droppers are just super nice to have, but likely the cost-cutting decision to keep this bike rather affordable. Look at that. Intermission. We're fishing. Oh yeah. Get it. Get it. Ripping lips. Gunnison River. One of the better rivers to fish. Floating fish. It's also a fun river to just go down. All right, I'm going to get a coffee break before my final thoughts. Not good coffee today. Not good. Backup coffee is not usually good coffee. I hate it when I run out of my bag and you got to go to the backup. But we'll head to the store today and get some more. On the Bridge Club, of course. All right, so where was I? All right, so I remember when the Bridge Club first arrived or showed up at the bike shop, which feels like a lifetime ago. And in many ways, it kind of was. I mean, given everything that's happened in my life and in the world since 2018, back then, well, the bike didn't really stand out to me. And I think a lot of that came down to the lack of appreciation for a simple steel rig priced at $1,200 USD. Maybe I wrote it off as it was too budget friendly for my taste, but man, I was way wrong. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to test it for so long. Even with tariffs and inflation pushing the price up nearly $400 in 2025, I still think the Bridge Club offers tremendous value. Sure, a few components could be better, and well, I could focus this review on what's missing or what I'd upgrade, but that wouldn't be fair for what it actually was intended to be. What really matters is the core of the bike, its capability, thoughtful features, proven durability, and overall value. It's a fantastic option for someone maybe just getting into cycling or anyone looking for a bike that can do a bit of everything. And well, it does all of that with a ride that is playful, versatile, and inspiring. So, as mentioned, the bike comes in 2 color options with complete builds priced at $1,599 USD. So this build without pedals came in at 28.7 pounds or around 13 kilograms, but that's with different tires and set up tubeless with sealant. So frame sets are also available. So the black version does come in at $799 USD, while the whipped butter colorway is $749 USD. So the Surly Bridge Club, it's been around since 2018. They haven't changed a darn thing except some colorways and some components, but it's still a great bike. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you all so much for watching. And if you like what you saw in this video and maybe you want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want to help support this YouTube channel, everything we do at BIKEPACKING.com, you can do so by joining the Bikepacking Collective. So the collective offers a lot of awesome perks for you all, including industry discounts, monthly giveaways. You've got the all-new Base Camp, which is awesome, and of course the twice yearly Bikepacking Journal. So to learn a little bit more about the Bikepacking Collective or just to join, you can click on the card in the top right corner or else follow the link in the description below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.